An eargasm of learning and a no-fuss show. Welcome to the Creative Talk Podcast, where you can learn straightforward topics about branding, digital entrepreneurship, online business, and many more with your charming host, John Santos, along with inspiring entrepreneurs, creators, and thought leaders worldwide.
I'm excited to learn, and I know everyone here and the people that will be joining is excited to discover, the ins and out of podcasting. But before that, let's welcome Mary, Louisa, Marie, and Almond. So, Marie, please introduce yourself. Tell us something about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Thank you, Jan, and thank you, Woon. I'm very excited for this room as a complete beginner wanting to learn more. I'm actually a spiritual life coach. I do a number of charitable things that I don't really talk about a lot, but it's just all about kindness and paying it forward. That's me.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Louisa, you're next. Please introduce yourself, what you do, and what are you doing at the moment? What is your brand doing at the moment? Louisa, are you here? All right, let's get back to her later. Mary, how are you, Mary?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. And hello, Woon. It's great to see you again.
Yeah. Hi, Mary.
Oh, I missed you in the UK.
Yeah, it's a funny one because I know Mary from a different group, a different community, and we've known each other probably over a year now, probably 2 years now, I think, but we haven't actually met. And then I've already left the UK.
Wow. So Mary, tell us about something about yourself, who you are and what you do.
So I do business analysis primarily. I bring a spiritual and intuitive nature to it. As Woon says, I know him from a different community where I've been building up some of the bits and pieces, but wish to build more of it. And I love Woon's podcasts, and I'm more likely to meet him in Malaysia, I think, than I was to meet him in London, even though it's 40 miles away. So I'm waiting for the world to open up so I can travel more. So I miss travel.
Nice. We all do. Oh, Louisa is back. Hi, Louisa.
Yes.
Yes. Please do introduce yourself. No worries. Please do introduce yourself, who you are and what you do.
Okay, so I'm Luisa. Do you hear me now? Yeah, because okay. I am Luisa Converse. I live in Belgium. I'm Colombian, and I help people to find their soul's purpose through different tools and magic that I use. I was launching my podcast on January 15th, but I'm going to wait a little bit because I have a lot of things going on, and I also bought a new computer that is just arriving at the end of the month, so I will wait. I hold this launch first for a while, and excited to be here and learning from you guys. Thank you.
Amazing. For sure, you will learn a lot from Woon because he's the master in podcasting. But thank you. Nice to meet you, Louisa, and nice to meet you, Mary, as well. Next is, I'm a fan of this person. First, she is very humble. Let me do a mini introduction to this person. I don't know if you guys know her, but I am a fan. I love this person so much as a friend, as a mentor, because she's very humble, and she runs a podcast also. Whenever she talks, there's full of wisdom in this person. She has the heart for people, not just making business, but really transforming lives. So Janetta, my love, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Oh, wow, Jan. Thank you so much for such a special introduction. Thank you. And it's just, my heart's so full being in this room with you and Woon. How special is this? And I'm so glad the two of you are collaborating like this. It's going to create a lot. So two of my favorite people in the room, and Frank too. You're here as well, so it's wonderful. Yeah. So where do I start? I am running a podcast through Jan, and Woon has been very beneficial in advising me on podcasting to begin with, and being part of World Jenny's Day, both of you, World Jenny's Day. Jan is also my social media man. He's if you go to my Instagram, all that is Jan. And so the teamwork between these two, Woon and I, as I say, World Jenny's Day and the NFT world, because we set up a World Jenny's Day NFT art collection, and Woon did some magical things there on that platform. And he and I have been talking a little bit more about moving World Jenny's Day forward on that platform this year. So I'm here to add, contribute, support, tell you how much I love you all, and I'm going to hand over back to you two.
Wow, you are amazing. You know, I whenever Janetta speaks, I can feel the love, the care, the wisdom, and that's why I'm in awe of this person, especially when you do check her podcast. And you will find out, you will discover the core of why she is doing the things that she do. You know, the brand message and the story behind that is really life-changing. So, guys, I highly suggest that you check her out, the podcast and her brand, what she do. She mentioned about World Jenny's Day. I want you to know more about that, because really, it's a life-changing movement. And speaking about that, another celebrity, I'm a fanboy, guys. You can see that I'm a fanboy of this person here, because first, he's an author. Second, he's a speaker, and with all those expertise and achievements out there that this person is doing, he remains humble, and that's why I love this person so much. He always supports. He's always there. This person, he's more like a brother, an older brother, and a teacher, and that's my feeling whenever he speaks and share wisdom. I love his perspective. Very humble, very awesome human being. Frank, love you, man. The floor is yours. Please introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Are you talking about my brother?
I love you, bro.
I love you too. Hey, Woon, are you on probation? Are you free from prison? I don't know what happened.
Hi, Frank.
Hi, Woon. I didn't see you for a long time, so But I'm happy you're on probation now. That's good that you get out. I know the feeling. No, I'm only joking. And last time I was also joking with Jen. I was in a hot tub. And we had a conversation, and I said, I want to be a little bit like Marcella and a little bit like Jen. And then he said, no, you have to be yourself now. What I mean is we all need to learn from each other. What I want to say is, if you talk about podcasting, of course, Woon. If you talk about branding, if you talk about living your dream, come to me and hang out with me, and you will really live your dreams. So, we all need each other. We all need a little part of each other to be a better person. And, the podcast and the marketing, if you listen to those guys and to all the amazing people here in this room already, is you learn so much. And we're all becoming a part now of the Pete Cohen community, and I still have to sign up, but my computer is not doing what I want. But I will sign up with the program with Pete, and we grow together to unbelievable highs, and that's what I am. I'm so happy that life gave me a third or fourth chance in life, and if you have that chance, you have to give it back. Otherwise, you are not the gift you were always meant to be. If you give what you learned from yourself, then you can help other people to go to their best chapters of their lives. And that's what I want for everybody. And that's who I am. And if you want to know more, well, you can read it and you can listen. And, I love being in rooms like this. And, you support me too, and I will support you also, whatever I can. So bring it on.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Thank you for always supporting, Frank. Next, we have Janice Jones. Please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and what you do, my friend. The floor is yours.
Hi. Hi, it's great to be here. I'm Janice Jones. I'm founder of the Positive Life Company. And my raison d'etre is all about improving lives by improving their mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And I do that by... I have a scorecard that people can take so that they can see, where they are in their own well-being journey. But then the podcast for me, sorry, there's a hot mic, honey. The podcast for me, which I'm about to launch, it will be launching in Q1, is I love having conversations with positive people, whether they're from the business world, the world of entertainment, the world of personal development. And so for me, the podcast is all about, yes, it builds my brand and things like that. But more than anything, I love having great conversations with people. I'm interested in people and what they do to help people to grow in whatever way it is, whether it's in business or, well-being, or because the positive life for me encompasses all of these different areas. So and I guess if I had a question around it, it would be, I could obviously just do it straight away on Zoom. I have set up with StreamYard, but I haven't worked out how to use it yet. And whether or not, and I have a really good microphone, a recording desk that I can, change sounds and stuff like that. I have a new ear light, so, I can light it properly. And it's just, I even have the first 3 guests booked in. But for me, it's about, I don't want to just start it. I need to know that I can continue it. And I know that the industry average is about, people get about seven episodes in and then stop. And I don't want that. I want to be able to make it long-term, doable. But I'm also building a business at the same time. So really the question is around how much time, not just the recording, but obviously if you're going to be interviewing people, you've got to get to know who they are and do some research on them so that you ask the best questions. So how much time do you think you need to put in if you were doing a weekly episode, but maybe 2 of the episodes a month are where you're talking and 2 are where, you're interviewing people that you really want to speak to? What sort of amount of time do you think that needs per week?
Love the question, Janice. We will get back to you with that question later. But for now, let's just finish the introduction. We have 3 more, and then we can start the topic, and then we'll be focusing on your question at the mid part of the session. Is that okay, Janice?
Oh, I do apologize. I thought because of the
all good. No need to apologize. We're a family, Janice. All good. Okay, just relax. All right. Thank you. Next is another celebrity, Raj. Welcome to today's session. Please introduce yourself, who you are as a brand, and what you do, my friend.
Good morning, Yes, good morning from the UK. So my name is Raj Singh, and I'm the founder, director, head of public relations at my award-winning marketing agency, Exclusive PR. And we help businesses, new startups, especially struggling businesses, new startups, and independent artists to gain visibility. And we help that, and we do that by using social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and we leverage that alongside some creative strategies to help businesses and individuals to get seen on Google. And it's a pretty cool strategy that we use. And the idea is that if you get seen, you get heard, and the idea is to make as much noise as you can online, and then you would get business. So that's what we do. And I'm just here to support you, Jan, and Woon as well. Hello to you as well. And yeah, I mean, I am looking to dive into the podcast space myself, but obviously this year I have some other targets. So I just thought I'd just jump into the room and support you, my friend.
Thank you, Raj. And Raj, I would love you to connect with Woon, because when you say the word podcast, this person is the real deal. So he's an expert. He runs. I'm not gonna do the introduction for him. He's gonna do it for himself. But you know, he's just an amazing human being, and I would love you to connect with Woon. I'm sure you can create a lot of great things in podcasting with Woon in your team. So thank you, Raj. Next, we have another powerhouse, Matt Roden. Welcome. Please introduce yourself, my friend, and what you do.
Jan. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for holding this space. I love you, man. You guys are rocking it. I love what has been happening with Pete, watching his platforms grow, his development grow, and what you guys bring to the table. And I could only, be a part of, what you guys are delivering, because I'm always learning, man. I have A4 paper stacked so high with so many notes and suggestions and ideas and inspirations and moments of really packaging everything together to be able to move forward. So, as you say, I'm Matt Rowden, and currently I have a successful salon based in London, and the space in the high street has dictated a lot of my life. And as much as I enjoy it, I listen with intent daily about how much threat we are under as businesses, as small businesses, high street businesses. And I've been asking myself for 5 years plus now, I need to get involved in online activities, ways of producing income. I'm not going to be ashamed to say it, but you know what? We all want to earn money, right? And I am looking to move to an online platform. Well, we have done, should I say, in the lockdown, we've now created 2 online business platforms that are generating income, but it's not in the space where I want to really, really put myself out there. And you know what? I've got a fairly big mouth that doesn't want to stop talking once going. And do you know what? This morning I was having a listen in on an Instagram live, and it's really helped. That one conversation has really helped take me to another level, based on the fact of where he was last night with Pete's start one, stop one masterclass. So I'm really, really gearing up. I just said to my wife about 20 minutes ago, she just brought me a coffee into the office, and she's asked me a couple of questions. I said, I'm ready to explode, man. I'm telling you, I am ready to explode. But I'm loving what Janice said. I'm like, oh, Janice, I wish I had your position. She's got the microphone, she's got this, the setup, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I haven't. And that's that once I commit that, and I know I'm in. I'm not going to do it with a mic. I'm not going to do it with my earphones and a phone. I just can't. It's not who I am. I'm not a perfectionist, but I understand standards, and I don't set my standards, too middle stream. I always try and aim higher because I want to give the audience the best. That's if anyone freaking well listens on my first attempts, right? Who cares? I'm just looking forward to it, and spending time with you, Jan, just really encourages me to move forward. So yeah, thanks for the space. I'm all ears.
Love that, Matt. And man, the energy from you, I could feel it. And you are in the right room, because Woon here, together with Pete Cohen and myself, we're going to be diving into, the in and outs of podcasting. And this would really help your brand, your business to move forward and, bring that element to the next level. All right. So before we dive into that, I just want to acknowledge William. William, welcome to today's session. Please introduce yourself and what you do, my brother.
Hello there, I'm William. I was just minding my own business on Clubhouse and I found this very interesting topic. Oh, powerful tips for a successful podcast. And I thought I'll drop in and say hello, see what it's about. Maybe I could add input. My day job is I'm a career entrepreneur. I'm one of those people that starts something, grows it, sells it. So I think I've had 4 companies acquired now by some of the biggest companies in the world. I play down my sort of profile on Clubhouse a lot, but we've done a lot. And my expertise, I suppose, is growing, starting something, targeting what we want to do with it, and then growing it. And my sort of latest claim to fame is I was named the Disruptor of the Year of all businesses in Europe this year, including the UK as well, which is kind of great. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you for that. And guys, before I introduce my colleagues here, please do not forget to click the My365 Club, join the club, so that you will get an update of the rooms that we're creating. There's a lot of rooms going on about podcasts, branding, daily topics that is connected to Pete Cohen's podcast. And Matt mentioned that we are launching a revolutionary movement. We have an app, the Start One, Stop One Challenge, and we went overboard. There's an app that you can download. It's available on Apple Store and Android, the Google Play Store. You can download it and it will really help you, not just as a brand or a business, you individually, to really go and raise the bar and bring yourself to the next level. But the perfect person to explain about that is my friend, mentor, partner, and he's just full of love to really transform people's lives. I hope that he can, speak today because he's running a business with this app and a series of masterclass. But let's see. Pete Cohen, welcome to today's session, my friend.
Thank you very much. Good morning to Jan and Woon and to everybody in the room. William, it's great to meet you. This is the great thing about Clubhouse, right? You hear someone speak and immediately, I don't know how many of you, when he just spoke about what he did, the first thing you did is went and followed him. I just went and followed him. When someone gets an award for being a disruptor, I just think, right, I want to go and see what that's all about. I want to see who this person is. I want to see, can I help this person? Can this person help me? That's just how my brain is just completely wired up. In terms of podcasting, I've been in the podcasting game for a very long, very, very, very long time. My current podcast is, I think we're just past 400 episodes. We are nearly 6 years old. We have 2 podcasts coming out every week. Woon has been a massive part, of that. And I think the point I just wanted to make, because obviously this is really on my mind at the moment, but I've spent a year on Clubhouse as of yesterday. It's been an amazing year, but this year is going to be much better in terms of collaborations, helping people, but really just knowing who you are, knowing what you do and knowing what you offer. And this is one of the things I've really learned from Jan, having worked and partnered with Jan on we actually have a branding agency together. But the real point I wanted to make here is you were asking me about this app that we've created. So what's happened is that we've had great success with people last year, and that has made me realize more and more what exactly I do, because we've been speaking to our customers and trying to understand where they were, where they are now, and it all comes down to the science of future self science, which I think is the most inspiring area in the field of human psychology. The idea that we all have a future and everything that we do is for our future. Unfortunately, most people's view of the future is maybe a day, a week, a month. That's it. If you ask people about who they're going to be today or tomorrow, they'll know. If you ask them who they're going to be in a year's time, people don't know who that person is. And we've seen this in the lab. we know exactly what's going on in terms of people's relationship to themselves in the future. So most people are living a future they don't actually want. But you can change that, and that's why my profile picture has changed today, because it's, for me, it's all about who are you actually going to become. And that's why we created this app, because the app is about helping people bring their intentions into play, because we know that everyone has goals, and in order for the goal to be realized, well, there's certain things that need to be done, right? But we don't fulfill on our intentions. So we created this app to really help people make progress and get their mind right. So our business is called My365, and that's my intentions now delivered, filling in the gaps between where we are and where we want to be. So our podcast is now going to start focusing more on that. All of our messaging is going to be focusing much more on that. And I think if you have a podcast, it's really important to think about, what does the podcast actually stand for? What are the messages? Being consistent with your messages. I realized last year I was talking about maybe too many things rather than actually being a lot more targeted, so people know who I am and what I do and what I offer. But I couldn't do this without the work, the help and support of people like yourself, Jan and Woon, who have helped me every step of the way in what I do. So I hope that makes some sense, and I'm going to pass the mic back to you, Jan. Thank you. And William, it's good to meet you. If I can do anything to help and support you, I'd love to get to know you. And happy, beautiful day to everyone else in the room. I'm done.
Thank you very much.
Wow, love you, Pete. And when you talk about podcasting, man, you're just amazing in creating content for podcasts. 400 episodes, and it's not about the number of podcast episodes you create, but the content, the value that is in each episode. And I've seen people's lives being transformed, children in Africa that never experienced to sleep on a bed, mattresses and things like that. Their lives were changed, not because of your podcast, but that's a tool that reached the right people to make a difference. So thank you, Pete, for giving us the opportunity to run a session like this in this platform.
Let's keep going. Let's keep doing it. Jan, I just posted the replay of last night. We had a webinar. Excuse me. We had a webinar last night. We had 400 people register, and we had 200 people turn up, which is pretty amazing. 200 people on a Zoom call. It was so much fun. And if you want to see the recording, you can by taking people through this whole process of knowing who your future self is and starting to build a relationship between that person. So yeah, thanks a lot, Jan. Back to you. And Woon, Happy New Year to you, my friend. That picture of Woon holding that microphone was done in the room that I'm standing in right now, and now he's back in Malaysia. So Woon, I miss you, my friend. I hope you're well.
Hi,
I'm
Pete.
done speaking.
Happy New Year.
He's with me now, Pete. So well, there you have it, the legendary Pete Cohen. And now another legend. Guys, when you say podcast, this person is really the king who knows the in and out of podcast. He runs a podcast agency, and he really transformed podcasts. So he's helped me in a lot of ways in my podcast, in Pete's podcast, and a lot of our colleagues. Woon, my friend, please introduce yourself, what your brand is doing, and what's happening in your podcast agency.
Yeah, hi everyone. So for those of you who don't know me, I'll start with my purpose, right? So my purpose in life is to acknowledge you so you can feel a sense of belonging and listened to. Knowing that your voice is heard, you can go on to make a difference. So hence podcasting for me, right? So I run a podcast agency. I'm a podcast mentor. My job is to work with you to launch and scale your podcast. But really what I do is help you fall in love with the podcasting process so you can create a podcast that leads to income and impact which only you can create. So that's what I do and what I represent, right? So so Jan, in answering your question around what's happening in the podcasting space and what's happening, there's so much happening, right? So we all know that podcasting has grown so significantly over the last couple of years, especially since the pandemic started, right? The numbers of podcasts as well as podcast listeners have grown up significantly. There's a huge demand for podcasting in terms of the content creation. Also, from a sort of a demand point of view, the number of people that are aware of podcasts and starting to get on to listening to podcasts, that's grown significantly as well, as people are looking for ways to engage and learn without being on the screen, right? So we all love Clubhouse because we don't need to be staring on a screen, but still can engage and interact with each other. So that's one of the key things with podcasting. So I think, in terms of where we are, I mean, podcasting has even though it's been around for over 16 years, it's still only starting, right? If you compare the numbers, if you compare podcasts versus books or YouTube videos, YouTube channels, right? So if you compare those numbers, podcasting is really only starting. So there's plenty of room to start a podcast, to cover your niche, to build your audience within podcasting. And so that's kind of my belief that if you're here and you don't have a podcast and you want to get a podcast started this year, absolutely, this is the right time to do it. There's still a massive demand for podcast content, and there's never been a better time to start a podcast because the help is available. The tech as well is also gone down in cost significantly, and there's just plenty of help if you want to start a podcast, if you want to keep going as a podcaster. So I know there's been quite a few questions around starting out, how to get your technology up and running, and then how to continue your podcast journey. And I think we're going to cover some of those. But I think one thing that ties into what Pete was sharing around creating your future self is really have that future vision of where your podcast, where do you see yourself relative to your podcast? Because I think that's a super important one to get yourself inspired. And for me, working, so I've been running this podcast agency since 2019, and the experience that I've found is that people who end up launching and getting their podcast up and running, growing, they do a few things. And so one thing is that you have to understand that momentum is your friend. The sooner you get that idea and get started and get yourself into action, the better it is. So you want to keep it as simple as possible. And I think when it comes to starting a podcast, my recommendation is to start by thinking through seasons. So don't think of it as an endless podcast where you need to create, hundreds of episodes, right? What Jan was saying is not about the number of episodes. It's about getting started and getting your value, sharing that message, and start to create that impact. So I always recommend people to start by having, say, 10 episodes as a season, and just start and get your first season out, right? And then it makes it much more achievable, and it makes much more fun. And because I think when you think of seasons, it means that you have something to achieve, and it's much more easy to manage as well. And the other thing I would say is when it comes to getting your podcast up and running, just reach out to people that you are already in contact with, right? So don't try and worry too much about who to interview or who to reach out to, and worry about sort of like the whole guest management side of things, right? Just get started, put your content out, and if you have advice and how-tos that you want to inspire or sort of tips that you want to share with others, just get recording, because that's the quickest way and the easiest way to get feedback. And I mean, there's plenty more I could share, but I think those are some of the key things I kind of wanted to touch on, because I know some of you have those questions in mind.
Love that, Woon. You started the ball rolling already. But those are powerful, warm-ups. And it's very important as you start the podcast, or if you're in the podcasting journey already, those are, handful tips that can really aid you as you move forward. So let's dig in for today's topic: powerful tips for a successful podcast in 2022. So first thing, let's put it out there. Choose the right theme. The theme of your podcast will play a huge role in determining its success. This is connected to what Woon is saying about, you can look at it as per season, or you can share tips, how to sort of like a vlog type for your podcast. So as long as it's connected to your brand. So choose the right theme. This doesn't mean that you should choose a topic you believe will capture a large audience. If that's your perspective, then you're going to be losing the game already. Just like what Woon and Pete said, you start something because first you love what you're doing, and that's your brand. It should resonate in the podcast. So what it means is that you should pick a theme you can commit for the long haul. And I think, what's the number? I remember you shared something about people that start a podcast for like 6 episodes only, and then they stop. You gave us a statistics there before. Do you still remember that?
I mean, I think the number is less than 10. So, if you go back, 5 years ago, like people would say it's like seven episodes. It's like after 7 episodes, people who don't reach 7 episodes would stop. But then I think over the last few years, that number has actually gone down lower, because I've seen a lot more new podcasts where they just started 1 episode and then given up, right? But still, that's still one better than no episode, right? So I think these are just things that people share to get you started, but really don't let those numbers sort of stop you, right? So that's why I say think through it as seasons, because if you think you can achieve 10 episodes in the next quarter, in the next 3 months, that's still better than not having a podcast, right? So I think about the future and how many episodes is achievable, and just get started, because I think the numbers are one of those things that is interesting for us as people who are helping other people set up podcasts. But then, it's I guess for some people it's a motivation, right? So you don't want to be the one that has got only less than 7 episodes and give up, right? But yeah, it's an interesting stats.
Love that. So guys, think and choose the right theme for your podcast. All right. Next tip is make your podcast SEO friendly. Now this is something new. So a lot of people thinks that because it's a podcast, it is not connected to the SEO thing. You're not doing a video, you're not doing, it's an audio based content in an audio based platform. So therefore there is no SEO connectivity. And my friends, there is. So Woon, can you explain the in and out of why tip number 2 is very important? Make your podcast SEO friendly.
Yeah, I think the key thing to understand is that your podcasts are going to be found by, so one thing is, obviously, when you're starting out, your podcast is going to be found by people who know you, right? So this is kind of the first degree of separation. People who know you are sharing and learning about your podcast, and so they go on to your podcast. But the other point is, the big reason why we want to have a podcast is because so that other people who don't know you can discover you, right? So you want to make sure you have keywords and that are targeted, that you want to be sort of known for, so that the search engine algorithms can help surface your podcast to these people that will potentially be your audience, right? So the thing to understand is these podcasts are available on hosting platforms and the podcast directories. So these are the sort of infrastructure behind the podcast that you want to make sure that they are on your side, right? So iTunes and Spotify are search engines that have internal search engines, and so you want to make sure that you have the right keywords in the title of your episode, right? In the title of the podcast name that you have. So these are super important, and even on the episode level, when you're publishing an episode or podcast, they do ask for keywords, and so make sure that you are creating stories and interviews around those keywords as well, because the more you can target these types of keywords, the better your podcast would show up and rank higher. So that's why it's important.
Wow. That really makes a difference. That's the reason why there are podcast episodes or main podcast creators that are ranking. Every day they rank. The big part of it. There's a lot of factors, reviews and streams, depending on the platform, like Spotify or Apple iTunes. But a big player there is if your content is SEO friendly. And I love what you mentioned about keywordings, from the title until the caption, the subtitle, the description. It should make it a little easier to find, right? And if it does, it really makes a difference, and it could really push your episode or your main podcast to rank, and it can definitely help your podcasts to achieve success. So thank you for sharing that, Woon. And I just want to share that you are the first person that really gave me an overview about podcasting and SEO. I remember before in the early age of our Clubhouse experience, you mentioned the link between the title, even the cover artwork of your podcast. It should have that visible, direct, and striking title already. So those things that we think it's not important because we're focused on creating content or the interviews, but really it's a big player. So thank you, Woon, for sharing that.
Yeah, so Jan, the other reason for people who might be coming from an SEO background, the key thing with SEO as well is link building. So the reason why you want to be doing interviews is because it means that you can share links of other people, and the search algorithm would actually understand that these people are credible. And the bigger the name of the person you're interviewing, the more credible the algorithm would know that they're credible, right? So that's the other reason why SEO is so important from a podcasting point of view, especially interviews. When you're interviewing someone else who's in your niche or sort of adjacent to your niche, then you sort of position yourself as someone who has authority, who's got credibility, right? So the link that you have in your show notes, in your websites, when you are sharing and promoting your podcast, would actually helps the algorithm to understand that these people are credible. And if people are listening to you or your podcast, then you are also credible. And that's the other reason why, from an SEO point of view, that's super important.
Love that. Now, we have the SEO idea in place. Now, let's go to the third tip, which is, I think it's very controversial. A lot of people, before entering the podcast journey, would get lost because they're so focused in, building or spending in things that they think would matter in their podcast journey. And there's no right or wrong answer in this third tip. So number 3 is invest in a decent equipment. Podcasts are a form of entertainment. Nobody wants to have the strain of just to hear what you and your guests are saying. Although there's value in it, there's a hook, there's learning, there's discoveries, there's stories. But again, if, like what Matt mentioned a while ago, you don't want to compromise the quality of your of your content, right? And I remember we were in a session with me and Woon. It's a beta stage and a metaverse, and he spoke about basic equipment that you need for your podcast journey. So Woon, can you share something, initial setup, realistic initial setup for podcasting?
Yeah, I think this is one of the things that stop people from progressing, is that people think that the audio equipment, is the only thing, right? but it is an important part, but it's not the only thing. And so I recommend a particular mic that I tend to recommend people to just get this mic. And there are two models. One of them is called the Samson Q2U, Samson Q2U, and the other is called the Audio Technica ATR 2100X. So Audio Technica ATR 2100X, and or Samson Q2U, Samson Q2U. So the reason why I recommend these two mics is because they're not expensive mics. They're less than $100, and they give you really, really good quality audio without having to invest in, say, a sort of a soundproof room, right? So most podcasters, we are podcasting from home. We are not in a recording studio, right? And we're doing recordings either alone as for monologues, or sort of through different Zoom when you're doing interviews, for instance. And so what we need is really straightforward, but also we need something that connects to your computer, to your laptop. So these two models that I just mentioned have what you call a USB connection that connects to your laptop or desktop. And so it's super straightforward. It's a sort of intro level mic, but it's not the cheapest mic, right? Like if you Google what's the best podcast mics, these two might not come up as the top podcast mics, because there are a lot of cheaper mics that don't do well. And so the other reason why these two mics are recommended is because they are what you call a dynamic mic rather than a condenser mic. And without going in too much into detail, these mics allow you to podcast without being in a studio environment. So that's the key thing. And so if you're here and if you think you need a mic, go for those two mics, and then move on, right? Like that's kind of the simple, straightforward thing to do.
Love that. Well, a backstory when I started my podcast. So, my name is Santos. Once again, I run a branding agency, and I'm also a host of the Creative Talk podcast. And that, we started from, and this is a true story, guys. We started the podcast with only my phone's headphone, my mobile phone headphones, and the smartphone. So the concept is there, and there are people there that by some reason they said yes for being a guest. So we made the initial episodes using a smartphone, and there's a big difference in quality. But again, like what Woon said, don't let the lack of equipment, or the lack of your monetary budget constrain you in pursuing your dream in podcasting. So we started those episodes using what we have until maybe 6 to 12 episodes, and by God's blessing, it generated income. With that, we slowly invested in, like what Woon said, decent microphones, audio interface, and as we move along creating episodes, we invest in the equipment. And then when we are getting bigger, there are people that are committed to focus on the audio quality. Woon is there to always support us. So, lo and behold, we now have like 66 episodes, and 20,000 solid supporters in 29 countries. And the podcast itself, the Creative Talk podcast, is generating income that supports, people. When COVID started, we are one of the agencies who were hiring so that we create jobs. It's not that because I'm good, I can't even speak fluent English because it's not my first language, but how it's being used to bring life and change people's lives. So again, guys, if you know in your heart that podcasting is connected to your brand and your dream, don't let the equipment or the financial status hinder you in doing what you are created to do. But, all right, there's a big but. Don't be complacent. You need to invest. You need to evolve. You need to innovate. As you go bigger, you are really in that position to invest in decent microphone, in mixers, in audio interface, and in agencies like Woon that can really bring your podcast with everything, all the complexity to the next level. So guys, focus on the equipment that you're using. Invest in decent equipment. Next tip is focus on content diversification. This is where the hard work really comes into play. Try to maximize your podcast episode by creating teasers, nuggets, and promo materials. But it's easier said than done. Woon, what's your take on this? Diversifying content. We always hear this, right? People say, oh, get the long form and chop it and, throw out in all the platforms. And it's easier said than done. If you're a single, if you're a one-man business, that's hard. What's your take on this, my friend?
Absolutely. I think it's super important to maximize the value that you're creating. And so when you shared the notes that we are sharing earlier, I looked at it and I thought, actually, I use a different term. I use repurposing of content, right? So one thing is to make sure you are sharing what you are sharing across different platforms, and so you get found by the right people, right? So now, obviously, there's far too many platforms to focus on if you're just starting out, right? But I think the key thing to understand is that over time, there should be a roadmap for you to grow, and so there's going to be different ways for people to discover your content. But I think when you use the word content diversification, I think the other thing to understand is that different formats, different platforms are suited for different things, right? I think, Jan, are the Instagram expert, right? So I know very little about Instagram. But if you are looking at a platform that has grown massively and grown really quickly over the last few years as well, Instagram is the place, right? And if you have followed the growth of Instagram, it's not just a picture sharing platform, right? Jan, you told us probably about 6 months ago that it's now a video first platform, right? But then now, if you look at it, it's all about the reels, right? So I think it's understanding these changes and working with experts in the space that you can sort of keep yourself on the right path and to sort of be there when these platforms are growing quickly and when there's sort of inbuilt audiences that are going to be interested in your content.
Right. And it's absolutely true. I was reading an article yesterday and it says there that there is a massive push for video content last year and this year. So this year, as you know, Instagram is bringing back its classic feed feature. We were talking about this, me and Raj, a while ago. And Raj, you were flashing your mic, and I know you remember this conversation we had. Please, the floor is yours. Please share us the rollback of the classic. A lot of people don't know that it was like that before, right? So please give us the context of that feature and why is it connected to video content. The floor is yours, Raj.
Thank you so much, Jan. Okay, so there's been some massive changes on Instagram, and there is. I've done a bit more research, and there's going to be more algorithm changes that are coming, and it's supposed to help you build your accounts faster. Now, what Instagram have done, right, is I think when they first came out, I think it was in 20. I could be wrong here. I think it's 2012, 2014. I think it was.
Yes, yes,
Right, when
yes. The
yeah,
photo based platform. Remember that? For photography.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So when it first launched, it was only photography, and it worked in a way where, so for example, let's say I posted now, okay, but let's say my followers haven't opened their app yet. So what happened was when you open your app, you will see my picture first. So that's how the algorithm worked, and that's how you built your followers and built your likes and engagement, right? And then they changed it to content quality, right? So it wasn't necessarily your content that you will see first. So then they did it in a way where if you posted now, I'm sorry, just give me a minute, yeah? Sorry, apologies.
No worries, man. No worries. We're all family here.
Yeah. So basically, like the way it worked now, well, from I think it was 2016 they changed it to where it was more based around the quality of your content. And then what it was that if you posted now, it wasn't necessarily that you would see my post first. You have to scroll down the feed because the most relevant content, the most newest content is what you will see. Now what Instagram have done is they've reverted back to what they're calling the chronological feed, right? Or the chronological order. Now, there's a bit of a misconception around that. Now, the way the chronological order works is on who you follow, not necessarily your content. So what that means is, if you're following someone and they're in the chronological order, you will see their post first. You see, so anyone that you're not following, if they're posting, you probably won't see their content. And the reason why Instagram is now moving more towards a more video platform is because of TikTok. One, because TikTok during the first 2 years of lockdown has absolutely exploded and it's become the most popular short form video site, and it's left kind of Instagram a little bit behind. And YouTube has recently launched a platform called YouTube Shorts, and the reason why they've done that is to actually keep in touch with and actually compete with TikTok. So Instagram then launched called IG Reels. I think that was last year or the year before. And the whole point of that was to actually compete and stay in touch with what TikTok's doing, because TikTok is quite revolutionary. Now, Instagram this year are launching so many different features, and some of the features are known as favorites. So if you go on to anyone's Instagram post, you will see there's like a little ribbon. Now you're going to get a little star, which will enable you to favorite certain pieces of content. And what that means is when you press that favorite button, it will give that person's content a boost, and it hits the algorithm telling Instagram that this post is really great, and they will push you up to explore page. That's just one feature. And then you've got like the collab features, and you've got something known as the NFT wallets. Now they're doing something called collectibles, I believe. And I think TikTok has their own version called, I think it's like where you can actually collect memories of high influencers. So you can buy those memories and then you can sell them. Whereas on Instagram, it's coming on as collectibles. But there's a lot of changes that are coming, and they are moving more towards video because people prefer to watch than read. So, I mean, the thing with Instagram as well, it's not going to fully move towards video because there is something known as a moving image. Now, if you've got like a carousel, and I'm going to be testing this out today actually, and I think I did one about a few days ago, where you could put like a GIF in there, but it's a still image. So, for example, like you can have text, and you can have like a GIF as like your main picture, right? That is still a video kind of still image content, which then you can add it to a carousel and you can still use that. So it's like a bit of video but a bit of still images. So Instagram are not necessarily moving fully away from video, but they are moving more towards short form videos, and they are going to be moving towards the video platform. And Jan is absolutely right. So yeah, I'm going to pass it back to you, my friend. I don't want to take up too much time. Thank you.
Love that, love that. So guys, with the and have in mind that that is only one platform we're talking about, and there's a lot of different platforms out there. Raj mentioned TikTok, LinkedIn, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, and we have Clubhouse. So have that in mind when you are already in your podcast journey to repurpose your content, diversify your content. I know it's hard, it's not easy, but one option you have if you don't want to stretch yourself thin is to connect with agencies that can really partner with you and bring those powerful content in play. If you want to maximize your podcast episodes, the content that you produce, they will really help you in your podcasting journey. Last tip, guys, before we wrap it up is be consistent. And I know it's a cliche, but guys, find a schedule you can commit to. This is connected to what Woon was sharing a while ago, that there's a lot of creators out there that once they create a number of episodes, they get tired, they get bored, or life cuts them up, and they stop. But it should not be that way. You don't need to rush and produce content every day. Being consistent means that you have a certain date or certain flow of when you produce content. Like when Pete is doing his podcast episodes, it's twice a week. From our experience, before we create once a week, now we create 2 episodes per month. So it's still being consistent, but it aligns to your flow. You need to have a life. You need to focus on other things, and especially when you're content repurposing and diversifying episodes, it would need ample time for you to create things. You need to research on your content, the value that you are really crafting in each episode. So be consistent. Guys, your listeners want to know that they can rely and depend on you to come out with a podcast on a regular basis. People are, they're called the tribe. They are here to support you, and when they know there's a flow of content being produced, they are waiting for it because they love the content, they love the learning, they love the value, and they can't wait to share it out there, to help you, to support you. That's why, Frank, Matt, Mary, Marie is here. They're part of our community, the tribe, that whenever a content is being produced, each and every one is there to help and release it. But if you're not consistent, they might think, the tribe, your community might think that, hey, what's wrong? Is your podcast still up? Is the episode still going? You don't want to have that disconnection with your tribe. So be consistent. Find a duration, a flow connected to your brand, your business, and your life. By giving your tribe a sense of security, that you are there for them, you can begin to build loyalty to your tribe. That link, that they will feel that you're there, you love them, you care for them, and they will reciprocate. That's the beauty of having a solid tribe. So guys, those are tips, powerful tips for a successful podcast in 2022. These are just cherry on top. There's a lot of technicalities involved, and me and Woon will continue to run rooms here on Clubhouse about the in and outs of podcasting. So again, powerful tips for a successful podcast in 2022. Number 1, choose the right theme. Number 2, make your podcast SEO friendly. Number 3, invest in a decent equipment. Number 4, focus on content diversification or content repurposing. And lastly, be consistent. Anything you want to add, my friend Woon?
I mean, I love all the tips that we've put together. I think it's really great stuff that we've compiled here. I think the final thing that I kind of wanted to share is, if you have a vision to create your podcast this year, get started. Reach out to both me or Jan, and we're all here to support you, right? So yeah, just get yourself out there and get that podcast launched.
Love that, love that. And again, guys, please do follow or check Woon's Instagram. Reach out to him, and I'm sure he's a lovely, lovely guy. He will go the extra mile in helping you out in your podcast journey. And also, if you need help in branding and also in podcasting, content diversification, please do check us out. Our Instagram, our club here, MI365 with Pete Cohen. Follow him. He's an awesome human being. He would really bring you to the next level. Again, Marie, Mary, Frank, Matt, Shamekia, sorry if I butcher your name, Angela, Axe, Alexia, Jason, Suzu, Christina M, and Lex. We see you. Thank you for dropping by. Thank you everyone for joining us in this session today. Woon, thank you so much. God bless you, man. And guys, see you next time. We are continually running podcast rooms every week. Same date, same time. See you next week, guys. Love you all. God bless you.
Thank you for being with us here on the Creative Talk Podcast. I'm your host, John Santos. Don't forget to listen and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. See you again, always.